There's not much in the UK that'll kill you, but there's an awful lot that'll make you want to die.
Living in the UK is a constant reminder that irony is alive and well.
Thames Water just got hit with the biggest fine in UK water history, over £122 million for sewage failures and paying out dividends.
This bailout, which carries a 10% interest rate, will be added to customer bills, which, by the way, are already set to increase by 35% above inflation over the next 5 years.
The endless nerve of these utility companies to run us dry and then turn around to us and be like, we're going to need more money if you need us to fix those problems.
So customers will foot the bill for reckless debts, while shareholders are unscathed.
We had a notice not to drink the water because I wasn't sick. So what are we paying them for?
What makes this even more amazing is not only have they run the company into the ground, not only are they dumping sewage into our rivers and watery spaces at record rates, not only do they want to continue paying their shareholders and investors dividends and continue lining their pockets, but they also want us to foot the bill, want to up our bills to pay for all of this nonsense, or something that we literally need to survive.
About the idea of returning all public utilities to public ownership.
Can't do it, it's too expensive.
Initially, yes, it's very expensive, but once it's been given back to the public, it can be cheaper.
Thames Water isn't just a financial crisis, it's a warning. When essential services prioritise profit over people, everyone pays the price.
Welcome back to Broken Britain, where even the water will make you sick. And somehow, you're still expected to pay more for the privilege. While UK water companies flood our rivers and seas with sewage, they've quietly jacked up bills year after year. Pollution's rising, profits are soaring. And guess who's picking up the tab? Ordinary Brits. Again. Now, Thames Water, the worst offender, is circling the drain, drowning in billions of debt. And the government's brilliant plan: bail them out with your money. You're told to take shorter showers and do your bit, while CEOs pocket millions, hand out dividends, and continue pumping raw filth into our waterways. This isn't just environmental neglect. It's legalised looting, run by greedy private monopolies with zero accountability and even less shame. Today on Brit Rants, we're plunging into the foul mess that is the UK water crisis, and TikTok is boiling over. From polluted beaches to corrupt boardrooms, if you're done being billed for your own destruction, hit subscribe and let's rant.
Hi English constituents, it's me, your local government. Just a quick update to say don't drink the water. You know, it might have a touch of cryptosporidium. Bottled water is fine. We'll charge you about £2.50 for it, but it should be fine. But yeah, don't drink the tap water. Or boil it first. Before you do anything, boil it. Like, don't even brush your teeth with it. If you do happen to contract cryptosporidium, it might take you out for a month, maybe 2, which could render you bedridden, but you know, keep paying your bills, you lowborn well, I think that's about it, actually. See you at the election in January.
Thames Water just got hit with the biggest fine in UK water history, over £122 million for sewage failures and paying out dividends. It's the biggest ever penalty issued by water regulator Ofwat, and the first time Ofwat has issued a penalty for underserved dividends. The regulator said the fines followed its biggest and most complex investigation, and that the penalties would be paid by the company and its investors, not customers. Thames Water said in response that we take our responsibility towards the environment very seriously. Ofwat ordered Thames Water to pay £104.5 million in connection to breaches in its sewage operations. This is on top of an additional penalty of £18.2 million for breaches to shareholder payouts known as dividends. No further dividend payments can be paid out until approval from Ofwat. The company is already struggling with a £20 billion debt pile and received a £3 billion emergency payment to stop the company from collapsing. The supplier serves around a quarter of the UK's population, mainly in London and the South East, and employs 8,000 people.
There's not much in the UK that'll kill you, but there's an awful lot that'll make you want to die. In the UK this April, water bills are going to increase on average by 26%. That is the largest single amount since water was first privatised in 1989. In fact, the average water bill today, after adjusting for inflation, is twice as high as it was 26 years ago. So why are they increasing water bills so much, and where has all that money gone? Simply put, these companies have got themselves in quite a lot of debt. Depending on where you live, up to 28% of your water bill in 2023 was immediately given to the lenders who'd given loans to these water companies. Loans which in many cases has been accrued, so these companies had enough money to hand out the £53 billion of dividends over the last 2.5 decades. Beyond paying off those debts, a large portion of these water bill increases will be invested to fix leaky pipes and try to reduce the amount of raw sewage which these companies have been discharging into our waterways. But two companies, United Utilities and Pennon, have already announced plans to use these price increases to increase the dividends which they'll pay out.
Living in the UK is a constant reminder that irony is alive and well. We have water in abundance. It rains non-stop. Our roads turn into rivers. We have potholes that have evolved into infinity pools for frogs. And yet, in April, your water bills are going to shoot up higher than a footballer's transfer fee. And don't tell me about operational costs for these privatized companies that get millions of pounds in bonuses, because their competence is evident in how much sewage is leaking into our rivers. My advice to you, flush the toilet with reckless abandon. Shower for as long as imaginable. Enjoy it while it lasts, because soon the only way to shower will be to jump into the Thames. Actually, scrap that, because the chances are you're going to meet someone's last night's half-digested kebab.
Imagine this, a £3 billion bailout for a company drowning in £19 billion of debt, whose shareholders have pocketed over £7 billion in dividends since privatisation, and executives awarded millions in bonuses. This is the reality of Thames Water, who were yesterday approved for a £3 billion rescue loan. The same company that's dumped 35,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools of raw sewage into the River Thames since 2020, allowing critical infrastructure to crumble and ageing pipes to rot. This bailout, which carries a 10% interest rate, will be added to customer bills, which, by the way, are already set to increase by 35% above inflation over the next 5 years. So customers will foot the bill for reckless debts, while shareholders are unscathed. So who are these shareholders? Who owns Thames Water? 32% is controlled by Canadian Pension Fund, 10% by a subsidiary of Abu Dhabi's Sovereign Wealth Fund, and there's additional stakes from China, Australia and others, meaning roughly 81% is owned by international investors. Globally, around 90% of water supply is publicly owned. This ensures that water, a vital resource for our existence, is managed transparently and benefits everyone. Makes sense. Thames Water isn't just a financial crisis, it's a warning. When essential services prioritise profit over people, everyone pays the price.
Two different friends said they only drink bottled water in the UK, and it got me thinking why we're the only country with a fully privatised water system. Rewind to 1989, and Thatcher's Conservative government sold off water authorities to private investors. Her general thinking was free markets give better investment, efficiency, service, but also fewer headaches for her budget. They even wiped the $5 billion industry debt to sweeten the deal for investors. And sweet it's been, but not free market. Unlike in the game Monopoly, utilities should not have been for sale. We've got regional monopolies now, so no customer choice. The results are in. Prices have risen 40% above inflation. I'm envying publicly owned Scottish Water, who are able to charge 20% less. £78 billion in shareholder dividends. Who needs repairs when a fifth of our water already leaks from the pipes? They also dump sewage 300,000 times in 2023, so that's every 2 minutes. Thames Water, the largest, is drowning in £14 billion of debt, despite some of the highest bills. Who was meant to police the shenanigans? Well, Ofwat. But after years with a few fines here and there and approving the bill rises, only now, after public and media pressure, are they waking up, blocking some of the bonuses and rejecting Thames Water's request to raise bills. A bit too little too late. We're a cautionary tale of why privatising a fundamental human right hurts. And Britons might support renationalisation, but politicians won't commit. There's about £60 billion in debt. They'd have to compensate the investors or force renationalisation, which they would think would trigger legal and market chaos. Basically, a lot of foreign pension funds and financial institutions own huge stakes and lobby hard. Forced takeover could push that dreaded borrowing cost up. The Labour Party specifically fears the reckless socialism label, and it's politically safer to point fingers than fix pipes. Though thanks to EU regulations, our water quality isn't bad, so I'll tell my friends we can all drink up straight from that expensive tap. I'm Charlotte, this is That's News to Me. Let's get informed and not overwhelmed. Follow for more.
Do you know how angry the Thames Water thing makes me? The injustice. Not just because this whole thing has happened because of people lining their pockets, because of corporate greed, because of people paying dividends despite the fact that the company is not functioning, but also that this is about water. Water. Something that we all need literally every day to stay alive. Something that people shouldn't be able to make profit out of in the first place. What makes this even more amazing is not only have they run the company into the ground, not only are they dumping sewage into our rivers and watery spaces at record rates, not only do they want to continue paying their shareholders and investors dividends and continue lining their pockets, but they also want us to foot the bill, want to up our bills to pay for all of this nonsense, or something that we literally need to survive. Are you what? That doesn't boil your piss. I do not know what will. For anybody that doesn't know the situation, Thames Water is a major water utility in the UK. They are in financial disaster. They've racked up debts of over £15 billion over the last few years, whilst also paying out massive dividends to their shareholders, obviously. Whilst also dumping loads of sewage into the Thames. There's been a 105% rise in sewage dumps. Some people are saying that it needs to be declared an environmental emergency. And it's amazing because Thames Water was responsible for the biggest increase in the number of those discharges, dumping on 16,990 occasions, 112% increase on 2022. I wouldn't be swimming in our rivers. Why should we expect the bare minimum from these companies? Why should we? All these people care about is money. I despair. And I'm not a politician, I don't know the answers. I'm just so sick of seeing stories like this in every sector in this country. And countries across the world. The rich getting richer, the poor getting poorer, and nothing functioning because all people care about is lining their own pockets. Okay, happy Easter everybody!
I don't know if the water issue has broken me specifically because I live in the area of the UK with statistically the worst water quality, or the fact that there's just been so many shit sandwiches relentlessly coming at me from the government for the last 2 years. But nevertheless, this has broken me. The idea that the water companies have turned around to the British public and said, sorry about all the polluting, we're going to take more money off you so we can finally fix all of this crap that we haven't fixed, is absolutely obscene when you find out that 20% of everyone's water bill has pretty much gone to filling the pockets of millionaires. Who am I kidding? Probably billionaires now, right? It's stuff like this that proves that whilst I may not be the most politically au fait person in the world, surely this branch of politics that pushes the idea of aggressive capitalism and hands public utilities to private companies, then allows them to do nothing for years, isn't working very well. And I remember it's literally been a bone of contention and something that's caused full-blown arguments with me and other people who are less lefty than me about the idea of returning all public utilities to public ownership.
Can't do it, it's too expensive.
Initially, yes, it's very expensive, but once it's been given back to the public, it can be cheaper. And you never know, with the public in charge of our own utilities, we might actually take care of them, considering we literally need them, and the companies that we privatise them to just make bank off it. It's like a joke running theme, that something will be like, we're going to have to increase prices, I'm really sorry, it's just such a difficult time we're all in together. While with the other hand going, woohoo, record share prices, time to go buy my new mansion. I just want to understand what it is that's completely desensitised us to this kind of thing. I'm so worked up that as I've been recording, I can actually feel my weird heart thing happening. Who knows, maybe it's not sarcoidosis, which was probably caused by repeated COVID infections. Maybe it's just the fact that I live in an area where my water's 58% fish. The endless nerve of these utility companies to run us dry and then turn around to us and be like, we're going to need more money if you need us to fix those problems. How about all of your board of directors and all of your interested parties take collective pay cuts and you make the money back from that? That or we go on a collective strike, because I don't really fancy continuing to pay a lot of money towards people who tend to give that money to billionaires who do nothing with it instead of actually fixing the problems.
You might have noticed that everything has been getting a bit more expensive lately, and water bills are about to follow suit. From April, the average household water bill in England and Wales is going to be £603. That's an average increase of £10 a month. But the amount you'll have to pay really varies depending on what part of the country you're in. The biggest increase is for customers of Southern Water, which covers Sussex, Hampshire, Kent and the Isle of Wight. That's gone up by £224, which works out at about £19 per month.
You might have noticed everything is starting to get a little bit more expensive. You don't say, love. Not even a couple of quid. You know what I mean? A couple of quid a month. £10 a month, £120 over the year. And in some areas, £19 a month for water. For water. What they fill with And I tell you why your bills are going up, because I told you about 6-7 months ago, all the raw pumping shit in sewage, what they've been pumping into our seas and rivers and ponds and lakes and all that shit, all them big fines they were getting, they just pushed it onto the consumer, us. That's why your bill's going up. Because isn't it weird that they get all these big fines and they get wrapped and they go on the news and they're all over the media. They've been pumping raw sewage in. But then you look at the CEO and he's getting millions of pounds in bonuses. That's weird, isn't it? Did they put any money back into the infrastructure? No, they don't. Because when we had the floods a couple of months ago, he went to shit, didn't it? It is so wrong and backwards, this country, how it works. These big bosses take all these millions in bonuses. The infrastructure falls apart. They get wrapped and get a fine and just push it straight onto us and we've got to pay it. It's an absolute disgrace.
When are we going to hurry up and nationalise water companies? So today it's been announced that Thames Water has been fined £122 million, the biggest ever fine for a water company. This is for two reasons. The biggest reason number one, is because they keep releasing sewage when they shouldn't be. Basically, water companies are only allowed to release sewage into our water systems, seas, rivers, streams, etc., when there are exceptional circumstances. For example, that could be risk of flooding to housing. But they've been fined because they've been doing it routinely. The second fine comes down to dividend payments. Basically, off what the regulator has said, well, actually, you shouldn't have paid these dividends out because your financial position has been so poor. But it is worth remembering that they're in £19 billion worth of debt. But even if all this wasn't the case, I'd still be arguing for nationalisation for another reason. And that's because they have monopoly power. I mean, this is basic A-level economics. Monopoly power leads to higher prices. I'm going to talk about that one in a minute. Poor innovation and, poor quality of product or service. But we're clearly seeing that because the amount of sewage that is going into our water system across the country is crazy right now. What about price increases? Well, this year you might remember that your water bills have gone up. Thames Water, look, up 31%. But look how common it was. I mean, Southern Water nearly up 50%. They have no competition, so they just do what they want. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree? Should water companies be nationalised? And before you go, don't forget to like and follow for more finance and investing content.
Okay, let me get this straight. Our rivers and our coastlines are being filled with shit. Actual shit. So much shit that it is making people violently ill and sick. And the reason they're full of shit is because for the last 30 years, the water companies have been taking the money that we pay in our bills for the water, and instead of maintaining the system, have given all of it away to rich overseas investors to make them even richer. So my water bills are going to go up 40% to keep making rich people richer while my water supply continues to go to shit, despite the fact that none of us can barely afford to buy beans. And if you're not going to care about the fact that people are robbing us of our precious money while filling our waters with actual shit, then what are you going to care about? Oh, Kate Middleton's an alien. Fuck off. How much shit is it going to take before we start giving a shit?
So if the sun wasn't out right now, I reckon we'd be rioting, because I just got my water bill, £67 a month, for a water company that routinely, illegally dumps poo in the river behind me. Used to be able to swim in that river, can't anymore. And multiple times last year, couldn't drink the water. We had a notice not to drink the water because I wasn't sick. So what are we paying them for? On top of my borough putting the council tax above the cap. This sunshine is the only thing that's stopping people from losing their shit right now.
So we've got a massive problem in the UK. And if we don't change something, in the next 10 years, our water will no longer be drinkable. And how can that be? Well, it's certainly not down to operating margin, which for the industry is on average 38% when income is taken into account. But many water companies have debt, and that is easily serviced by that profit. And if you take around 20% out, you're still left with significant operating profit. The water companies have made around 25 billion in the past few years. And the big issue, though, is that they pay dividends. So 15p in every pound of water revenue is paid to shareholders. That leaves nothing for reinvestment in the waterways. Now, the lack of investment is meaning that raw sewage is being illegally pumped into the rivers, the seas, and to keep our water drinkable for the next 10 years, the government is suggesting that the water companies need to invest around 2 billion per year. But they say they can only afford 1.4 billion per year. And even worse, an independent review commissioned by the House of Lords suggests that 2.6 billion is actually required to sort out the issue. So the solution to me is obvious. Take the water companies back into public ownership. The alternative, Thames Water says, we need 44% increase in our prices in order to meet the investment targets. That is outrageous, in my opinion. So those are the numbers. What do you think? I'd love to hear your comments. Thank you very much.
When Thames Water has waterworks like this, they can disrupt the lives of tens of thousands of people. And yet this is the same water company, as many do, that wants to increase your bills. In fact, by 59% between 2025 and 2030. But this is also a company that has had spillages increase 40% in the last year alone. And this is causing effects for people. This is polluting water that people are drinking and using on a daily basis. People with children, with families, with elderly people to take care of. And despite all of that, Thames Water also paid out £7.2 billion in dividends to shareholders since it was privatised. At the same time, it's accrued over £16 billion in debt that is spread over various companies. And that's the debt that it wants to offset, ostensibly to invest in the water system. But whilst it had all that money to spend on dividends, it could have used that money surely to repair the same pipes from the Victorian era, but it didn't. It chose not to. And many people are angry about that. But what do you think? And if you'd like to learn more about the water crisis in the UK, then see the caption down below.
So there's been an urgent warning to do not drink your tap water across UK regions after contamination fear. Nearly 200 postcodes are told to boil the water before drinking it from your taps after an above level of coliform bacteria is discovered. The average household in the UK pays £80 for water, but are now expected to boil their water before they can drink it. So the 200 postcodes affected use Yorkshire water. And this bacteria includes E. coli, which can be found in the digestive systems of humans and animals. This E. coli can give you stomach pains and diarrhea and other gastro diseases. They have said that this E. coli usually contaminates water after human or animal feces comes into contact with it. They are also urging to have at least 3 days water supply in your house, and you need 3 litres per adult. So if there's 2 adults in a household, that's 18 litres of water you should store somewhere in your house as an emergency. I understand we're told babies shouldn't drink bottled water, but this is disgusting. Like, we're paying for water that we can't drink.
Just had my United Utilities water bill, and shock horror, it's going up from £735 to £934. That's a 28% increase from the 1st of April. This isn't an April Fool's joke. The people of this country are being taken for fools. All I know is Labour are the wrong government to put an end to this blatant profiteering.
Well, would you look at this? A few weeks of some nice weather here in the UK, and now we've got warnings of a drinking water shortage within the next decade without new reservoirs being built, a minister has said. Now, the warning comes as the government announced it was speeding up the planning process for 2 new reservoir projects, but overriding local objections can be unpopular and the reservoirs could still be more than a decade away from opening. Household consumption of water may also need to fall to secure supplies amid rising temperatures and a growing population, scientists warn. You see that? Growing population at an exponential, unsustainable level. I don't mean to bring it into this video, but there is countless, time after time, more and more evidence that the rate in which our population is growing through mass immigration is not sustainable, and it is causing a strain on our basic services and supplies such as drinking water here in the UK. Now, yes, the government should have stepped in a long time ago when it comes to water companies charging ridiculous amounts of money, not reinvesting into infrastructure, not building new reservoirs, and not finding better ways to store water here in the UK. Bearing in mind, we live in a country that has natural rainfall 70% of the year, and yet for some reason every single time we get a small dry spout, a little bit of good weather, we get these warnings of drought, and now apparently we could run out of drinking water within the next decade if these new reservoir projects are not fast-tracked or progressed. Now, the announcement means that final decisions about the proposed Fens Reservoir in Cambridgeshire and the Lincolnshire Reservoir will be taken by Environment Secretary Steve Reed rather than at a local level, because obviously the local councils, I'm guessing, keep objectifying to these reservoirs being built, or perhaps the local people. But now the government has decided to step in and do something, because the simple thing is, here in the UK, we have a booming population, and not through childbirth, people, because the birth rate here in the UK is actually extremely low, much lower than we need for a healthy, sustainable society. So instead, the government are boosting our population by mass immigration, but at a level that is not sustainable. That is the pure facts of it. Like it or lump it, it is causing a strain on services, and unfortunately now, with years and years of water companies charging ridiculous amounts of money and not investing anything back into infrastructure or water storage, this is what we now have. Because of course, in a country where it rains 70% of the year, we're not entitled to enjoy a few weeks of sunshine in the summer. As always, peace and love from me. Don't forget to like, share and follow for more content.
BlackRock, right, are value stripping the UK. What does that mean? It means that as we begin to sell not only our stocks and our real estate, but now our infrastructure, whether it be Thames Water, whether it be Gatwick Airport, to asset managers like BlackRock, we get value stripped. And the reason why that happens is because it's not within BlackRock's interest or other private equity funds or asset managers to invest into long-term generational value for those assets that are so vital to our society. So when Macquarie, for instance, bought Thames Water, they were criticized by the fact that they didn't invest long-term into the infrastructure of Thames Water, whilst at the same time increasing costs to us, the users. And obviously that benefits someone like Macquarie because they need to invest as little as possible into the asset, keep it running for as long as they possibly can with as little and smaller budget as possible, whilst increasing the costs that we have to pay to increase their margins. And so what that means is that, yes, they might perform well for 10 years in their fund, but when they actually need to provide value to the people who use it, it all falls apart. Which is why Thames Water went down the toilet. It's why our train lines go down the toilet. It's why even they're saying at Heathrow Airport, the reason why I had to shut down recently and why there was a fire was because of lack of investment into vital infrastructure within the airport. We're going to see the same thing with our housing. All of our housing will be bought up by private asset managers and we'll get less quality and have to pay more for it. That is our future.
So I woke up to a £3,000 water bill for the month. Yeah, for the month of January, I woke up to a 3,000 bill, water bill. I was like, what? £3,000. Like, I had to call Yorkshire Waters. I was like, I don't have a whale in my house. We just two. Like, I don't have a shark. I don't have a whale. I'm not doing a laundromat. Where the is £3,000 coming from in January? January was dry. Like, January was the driest of the driest of the driest. See, yeah, it was crazy. Anyway, they just said they're going to investigate it. I'm like, I don't have a whale in my house. The girl was laughing. I'm like, £3,000? What? Like, you know, when you can't cry, you can only laugh. That is exactly what happened. I just literally laughed. Immediately I heard the bill, or when I saw it and I called them and they said, oh, yes, that is the bill for the month of January. I laughed. I literally LOL. Like, I LOL'd so bad. Oh, God. I'll give you guys updates when it's all sorted, but like £3,000.
And there you have it. Welcome to Britain, where even your water bill feels like extortion, and a swim in the sea comes with a health warning. The rivers are brown, the bills are up, and the bosses at the top are laughing all the way to the bank. This isn't mismanagement, it's calculated neglect. Sewage in the sea, debt on the books, and CEOs collecting bonuses for wrecking the very system we rely on. They tell you to use less, to take quicker showers, to tighten your belt. Meanwhile, they dump raw filth into our ecosystems and still demand more money for less service. And now, companies like Thames Water are on the verge of collapse, but instead of holding them accountable, they're lining us up to bail them out. Again, it's not just a water crisis, it's a justice crisis, and people are finally waking up. If you're sick of being rinsed by greedy execs, sold out by useless regulators, and ignored by the very people elected to protect you, hit that subscribe button. Join the movement, join the noise, and keep calling it out, because until there's accountability, there won't be change. And in broken Britain, we've had enough.